I'm diving into FX's love story, John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette, but not as a straight recap. Today we're unpacking what this wedding era obsession tells us about fame, fashion, and how a limited series can become a cultural flashpoint. Let's think beyond the headlines and ask, why does a real-life wedding on Cumberland Island still captivate audiences years later? What makes this particular wedding episode so magnetic is how it stitches together secrecy, star power, and a moment in time when a publicist's Calvin Klein era collided with a royal-like family narrative. Personally, I think the appeal isn't just the Kennedys. It's the fantasy of control and image in a world where milliseconds of footage can redefine a dynasty. The wedding scene, tucked away in a small wooden chapel, feels almost mythic, a cinematic beard over a real-life power dynamic. What this really suggests is how media dynamics work when a private moment is treated as a public right. It's a case study in branding, not just romance. Let's break down the core ideas and then sharpen the analysis with my take. Idea 1: the wedding is spectacle while staying intimate. The episode emphasizes secrecy around the ceremony while orchestrating a larger, cinematic moment for the audience. It's this tension, private vows, public gaze, that creates continuity between the couple's personal life and their public personas. What I find fascinating is how the show leans into that paradox rather than erasing it. In my opinion, that contrast is the engine of the series' tension. You crave the private details, but you're fed the curated, marketable version. What makes this really interesting is that it mirrors modern celebrity culture, where private life is a product, and a product that fans feel they're entitled to consume. If you take a step back and think about it, the Cumberland Island Chapel isn't just setting, it's a symbol. Exclusivity is allure. People often misunderstand how much the location contributes to the aura. It's not just scenery, it's narrative leverage that heightens value and memory. Idea 2: the Kennedy aura meets modern branding. The show juxtaposes a historic political family aura with a modern celebrity brand, Calvin Klein, PR machinery. This isn't just about fashion. It's about the transition from old money legitimacy to new money media savvy. What I'm seeing here is a broader trend: dynastic charisma recalibrated for 24/7 attention economies. From my perspective, the series signals how branding has become an alt-royalty system where marriages, campaigns, and public appearances are all part of a calculated storyline. One thing that immediately stands out is how Carolyn Bessette's public image, shaped by a fashion-forward partnership with a publicist, influences public perception of Kennedy as relevant in a different era. What many people don't realize is that the fashion narrative isn't just costume, it's a strategic instrument that shapes legacy and audience loyalty. This ties into bigger patterns of celebrity genealogies being repackaged for new generations of viewers. Idea 3: ratings as a social ritual. FX's claim of strong viewership growth on the wedding episode points to how audiences treat certain episodes as social events. The data, an 80% plus bump, indicates that weddings aren't just plot devices, they're cultural rituals that invite collective participation. In my opinion, the spike isn't solely about the event, it's about people wanting to witness the convergence of past glamour and present-day nostalgia. What this reveals is a broader media habit: audiences chase occasions where history feels tangible and sparked by real, high-stakes narratives. A detail I find fascinating is how streaming numbers are framed as global engagement, with 40 million hours watched across 6 episodes. It implies that the show isn't just watched, it's discussed, memed, and referenced across platforms, amplifying its cultural footprint. Idea 4: the storytelling approach: reaction, analysis, and interpretation. The series isn't just reporting events, it invites interpretation about PR, media pressure, and the personal cost of public life. From my point of view, the program thrives on a creator's sidebar, speculation, context, and social commentary. What this really highlights is a shift in scripted nonfiction. Viewers want the host's perspective, not a dry retelling. A lot of viewers probably don't realize how much the show's tone nudges you toward empathy for Carolyn as she negotiates an intensely public role. If you take a step back, this approach mirrors current content trends where commentary drives engagement more than the raw facts themselves. Deeper insight: what this all points to in the broader media landscape. The wedding episode crystallizes a trend: real-life events are curated into story arcs that function like modern myths. The Kennedys' legacy isn't static, it's a living brand that evolves with media ecosystems. What this suggests is that audiences are hungry for cross-temporal storytelling where historical prestige meets contemporary media craft. This also raises questions about how much of what we're watching is authentic versus engineered for maximum resonance. A detail I find fascinating is the balancing act between reverence for history and the appetite for sensationalism. The show's craft reveals how prestige television leverages real people and events to create a durable, rewatchable mythology that feels intimate yet expansive. Closing thought: implications for viewers in future projects. If you're watching with a critical eye, you'll notice that the appeal isn't only about the Kennedys or the fashion, it's about how media constructs memory. The wedding episode is a case study in turning a personal milestone into a cultural artifact, with all the leverage of branding, nostalgia, and narrative curation. One open question I'd love to see explored further: how do different audiences decode the performance of public figures in these reimagined narratives, and what does that say about trust in media narratives today? Personally, I think this series isn't just recounting a moment, it's teaching us how to read celebrity culture in the streaming era, where every moment is potentially fertile ground for a broader conversation about power, image, and legacy.